Welcome to Darshan America, folks. We come to you from Washington, D.C. My name is Ramesh Bhutani.
And I'm Astha Verma.
And folks, the freshman congressmen and the senators are in town. They're going through the orientation sessions as well as looking for housing and schools for their kids. Some of them, of course, they're going to commute. But there are about 150 changes that occurred. In Washington, D.C., would the 150 that were being replaced, are they going to leave town?
Probably not for a while.
It
takes a while to transition out of your housing and to adjust back into your conventional life. And I think it probably is a tough transition after you've lived in Washington, D.C. to go back to your home base.
They love it here. They are so powerful here. They can't go back. When they go back, they'll be losers. Up here, they'll be former congressmen, former senators. They can get that lobbying position. But this freshman group is going to make it very difficult. In fact, in this week alone, Mitch McConnell, who's the leader of the Senate on the Republican side, had to concede for the first time that there are going to be no earmarks, period.
You know, that's a shift. That's a complete and utter 180-degree shift for the Republicans. And actually, even before Mitch McConnell came out, Jim DeMint had actually made the same point that, look, if the Republicans have any hope for success coming in, especially since they've now come into majority in the lower house, they have to do something. They have to show some return instead of gridlock, right? The worry is with the lower house being Republican, the upper house being still Democratic, that they'll be gridlocked for another 2 years and nothing will get done, which is bad for the Republicans because in 2012, there could be another shift in power, which brings the Democrats right back if they don't also show something concrete in the next 2 years.
But remember, there is a root cause of everything. There's a root cause of gridlock. And the reason there is a gridlock is sometimes because, hey, my state didn't get nothing. Hey, my city didn't get nothing. You got to give me this earmark so that I can approve a legislation that you want. So gridlock has not been on quote-unquote very noble points. It's been nothing but pay for play, you know.
I agree. I think if there are three things that the Congress should look at passing would be the earmarks, getting rid of them, the line item veto, which has come up time and time again and has been defeated, and the balanced budget amendment. Those are the three things. If we could get those things to pass, I think we would be a better overall government and governing power.
One other thing, which the fresh Tea Party people want, which I sort of agree with. Every time you pass a law, make sure you tell us under which constitutional law is this particular regulation passed. It's extremely important because what has occurred is we have so far moved away from that Constitution that we have really, in fact, I was very happy to see Marion Barry in Washington, D.C., suggesting for the first time that no, we are not going to pay welfare over 5 years of a lifetime of any resident or a citizen. So I really believe that there's some fresh ideas are coming up, and I go along with that.
I think this is going to be a fun Congress to watch because I think there are going to be a lot of new ideas, and for the first time, neither party, which have been the majority parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, neither has a luxury to just sit back and defeat any new ideas that come to the table. They have to embrace them because they are both looking at the 2012 election as being a key decider about the American public. By the way, folks, if you think we're not serious here, all you need to do is take a look at this headline in the Washington Post. Look at this. It's President Barack Obama, and the headline reads, "If he wants to be a great president, Obama should not seek re-election in 2012. I just could not believe this headline.
Because he said it himself. He'd much rather be a good president for one term than 2 terms.
See, I have a problem with that. It's almost as if he's admitting defeat before he's ever even made his mark. And I thought this was in sharp contrast to, President Bush came out with his memoirs just last week. And the key thing that all of the reviewers and critics are saying is that his book, if nothing else, kind of highlights his ability to make a decision, right or wrong. Many of us disagree with the decisions he made, but he called himself the decider, and the book chronicles his decisions. And the fact is, you walk away with a perception of President Bush as being strong-minded, at least concretely on one side or the other. I think President Obama is struggling on that front. He's having a hard time defining himself.
He's actually not. You know, I mean, he believes that poor people should have the same facilities and same thing as the rich people have. And that's his vocabulary all along. But I really think that you don't want people to be dependent on Congress. You want people to be self-sufficient. So he will have to change that and become Bill Clinton in his third year, you know.
I agree. It's interesting how people are drawing parallels already to the Clinton presidency.
Yeah.
Because this happened to President Clinton, where partway through his administration, there was a big change in the Congress. He had to change his policies to correspond to the change. And it also happened to President Kennedy. You know, Time magazine did a great spread on what President Obama could learn from President Kennedy's administration, because again, this is not a new phenomenon. This has happened to presidents in the past, and they've still found a way to be successful. I'm optimistic that the president will, but I think he has some work to do ahead of him.
And folks, I really want to tell you, we in Washington are looking forward to the new freshman class of Congress and freshman class of senators. They're talking about in January, when the debt ceiling comes up for a vote, there ain't going to be none of these freshman class going to go for it. There are huge cuts planned, and that really is going to get the governing under the hot collar.
In fact, you're right. There is a deficit plan that's being proposed, which would offer $3.8 trillion towards the deficit. In other words, it would cut it by that much.
Whoa.
But, as you might imagine, there would be some tough trims there. For example, Social Security, Medicare, the two things we always try not to touch. It would also reduce income tax rates and eliminate tax breaks, including the mortgage interest deduction. That's a controversial one, because I think a lot of people look at home ownership as a way to profit from saving on the tax front.
But then they can go up to a certain dollar amount you can deduct. I mean, you can't deduct $28 million in interest. You know, I mean, there needs to be certain limits, you know.
Well, mathematically, apparently it works, but as you can imagine, this will be a fight in the Congress. I don't think this will be easy, but if they were successful, it would reduce the annual deficit from $1.3 trillion this year to about $400 billion by 2015.